Phones are up on my porch when my son storms me and spits, "Pay the rent or get out." I'm his 78-year-old dad, jaw tight, finger on the eye level notice, sale locked, 7 days. I lower my voice and dare him, "Read it." I'm Henry Caldwell, 78, a retired railroad worker in Louisville, Kentucky. Coffee steams, the kitchen light hums. Michael is already at the table, laptop open, the blue glow making his face look younger and harder at the same time. "Morning, Dad," he says, friendly voice over a cop's posture. "Let's make this easy. Groceries are up. Power too. Pick one to chip in more. Groceries, lights, gas." Refusal, my mug down. Name the line item, not the lecture. Chung comes in with a folder, the color of a parking ticket. She lays a single page in front of me like it was communion. "House share," she says, "everyone pays on time." Her finger taps the margin where she's drawn check boxes. "Did," I say, "for decades." Michael smiles at the screen. This is about fairness now. I look past them at the fridge. A crooked yellow sticky note says, in Karen's sharp square letters, "Rent due, Friday." It's pinned under a magnet shaped like our church steeple. I've tightened bolts on locomotives in freezing rain. That note feels colder. Karen opens a drawer, pulls out a laminated house rules sheet, and sets it down by the sink with the same gentle care she used to place my granddaughter's birthday cake. "Policies keep the lights on," she says. "Memory used to," I answer. Unins clicks his mouse. The spreadsheet chimes once, a cash register in a different suit. "We're not arguing, Dad. We're aligning." Nod like a man who just missed his block signal but knows the track still runs straight. "Then align the line item, and I'll look." Hurricanes at the phrasing. Karen's mouth thins. She turns toward the hallway thermostat, then thinks better of it, leaving the plastic dial to stare at me like a quiet eye. The screen door creaks. I hear the leash jingle before Ruth's voice. "Morning, Caldwell." She's at the mailbox with her terrier, visor on, sun already making a white line across the pavement. "You folks seeing the notice? HOA barbecue next Sunday? Bring a side." "Got it on the fridge," Michael calls, still not looking up. Ruth peers past the screen. "You settling in okay, Henry?" It carries the same shape as "welcome," but lighter, like I'm a summer guest. Karen answers for me. "He is. We keep a routine." "Routine keeps us alive," I say, and Ruth smiles politely, head tilted like she heard two meanings at once. "Ultima Sunday then," she says. The spring pops again and sunlight slashes the floor. The terrier's nails tick across the stoop. Michael's spreadsheet chimes a second time. I rinse my cup. The water runs too long for Karen's taste. I feel her eyes on the faucet handle the way a foreman watches a new man's hands. "We'll message you the breakdown," she says, "so there's no confusion." Confusion, I say, is never in the numbers. She tilts her head. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'll read it." I dry my cup and hang it on its hook, the same way I did in the house before this one and the house before that. The hook always outlasts the paint. Michael closes the laptop halfway. "We're not trying to make this hard." "You're trying to make it tidy," I say. "Hard comes included." He laughs once, soft and practiced. "You know, Dad, some folks pay rent to live with family. It keeps things clear. No guilt on either side." "Late no love needed receipts," I say. Karen lifts the folder like a stop sign. "Let's not dramatize. This is about contribution." I look at her and then at him. "Name the figure. I'll look." Karen. A. In Korn's eyes say, she heard figure, like a dare. "By Friday," she says, tapping the sticky note with her nail. The hall is cooler than the kitchen. My room door opens with a tired hinge. The desk is there, of course, oak and old and faithful. The top drawer sticks a little, unless you know the angle. I know it. I set my hand on the wood, not the handle, like a man palming an old rail to feel if a train is coming. I don't open it. Not today. I can fix a seized coupler in the rain, but I still ask to warm my own bones. Back in the kitchen, the light hums again. Michael is putting on his shoes. Karen folds the house share page back into the folder with a neat pat. I move to the thermostat and hover my finger over the dial. The plastic is smooth, faintly warm from the sun. I pull my hand back. Courage. Karen says, not unkind, just firm. I was only checking it, I say. It's on a schedule, Michael adds, looking at his watch as if the heir has an appointment to keep. Everything does, I say. He opens the door for Karen the way I taught him when he was 8. She thanks him without looking. The screen door snaps and the house exhales a little. I sit just to listen to the quiet. The fridge hums. The sticky note waits. A fly taps the window and changes its mind about freedom. I've got Sunday service at 9 and nothing pressing before that except keeping heat and peace down to what the rules can tolerate. The phone on the counter vibrates against the laminate, a cheap rattle like screws in a coffee can. The lock screen blooms with a new thread. Family. Under it, the subject line unfurls, clean as a threat typed by a polite hand. Budget. 3 gray attachments stacked beneath it, unopened. Dinner starts like a meeting that forgot to end. Plates in a neat row, silverware lined like tools on a bench. Michael checks the oven clock as if time itself answers to him. You're living rent-free, he says, spearing green beans. That's not sustainable. I had granddaughter. I paid for more than meals in this house, I say. Karen lays a typed page by my plate like a placemat. This isn't about the past, about policy. Everyone pays on time. Policy without memory is just a bill. I had she smiles like I complimented her. Bills are things we can plan for. The landline rings. Karen snatches it with a cheerful voice I haven't heard all day. Hello? Yes, this is the Caldwells. Her eyes meet mine, then away. Potluck? Of course. Next Sunday, we'll bring a side. She covers the receiver. They need ice. Henry can grab 3 bags. Put me down for 4, I say. 3 is fine, she whispers. Back to the phone. 3 bags, got it. She hangs up and writes on the whiteboard. Sunday, BBQ. Lebanese cuts the meat with quick, precise strokes. See, he says, everyone contributes. Even when they're volunteered, I say. It's ice, Karen replies, not a mortgage. A buzz rolls across the table, my phone. HOA barbecue, Sunday 2 p.m. Deck 7. The calendar throws its little banner like a flag you can't unhang. Michael watches me not touch the alert. Don't worry about food, he says. We've got that. I wasn't, I say. He lifts his glass. So we're aligned, a fair share and a clean schedule. Wildfires is a word with a longer tail than you're using, I say. Michael puts the glass down softly. You're not a guest, Dad, that would be different. Karen folds her napkin. You're family, which is why policy keeps us all clear. Clear, I repeat. I let the words sit, thin and transparent. The Karen gestures to the page. This will spell it out. Security, and you say. Disillusion, I say. Then there won't be confusion. The numbers, I say, and this time I let the sentence finish itself in the silence that follows. Michael leans back. We're not looking for a fight. Neither am I say. I'm looking for respect. He nods like he's written that down already. Respect is measurable. Recognize. Then I'll see your numbers, I say. Karen checks the oven, more for something to do than for heat. Friday is the note, she says. Let's not make a habit of lateness. I'm not late, I say. I'm not anything yet. We eat in a steady clink, forks to plates, water to glasses, her pen to the whiteboard. The house hums, that cheap electric sound of lights living longer than anyone expected. Michael clears his throat. You know, some dads pay rent by choice. It keeps things balanced, no guilt. Complied, didn't know love needed receipts, I say. He smiles without humor. No one's keeping score. Then why the scoreboard? I nod toward the whiteboard. Kara wipes a non-existent crumb from the table. Because order is kindness. Turbulence used to be kindness, I say. Michael's jaw tightens, but he thinks better of whatever was coming next and stands instead, stacking plates the way I taught him 30 years ago. He carries them to the sink and turns the faucet just one notch, Karen's notch. Humiliation makes a tight, mean heat. It doesn't warm anything. Karen touches my shoulder as she passes. Not comfort, not quite a warning. We're on the same side, she says. Then quit pushing, I tell her. She lifts her hand. We'll send the breakdown tonight. Do that. I rinse my glass and set it mouth down to dry. The landline is quiet again. The oven clock clicks to the next minute like a slow metronome. Michael checks his phone, thumbs moving. Mine buzzes a breath later. A new message arrives. neat and polite as a bill slid under a door, private from Michael. Numbers you can't argue with. The grill hisses like a bad radio. Paper plates bend under church casseroles and store-bought cupcakes. A vinyl banner droops from the clubhouse gutter. HOA barbecue today. Someone taped D-0 under it with blue painter's tape, as if the sky needed a countdown.
Take up sheets here,
The board man says, dragging a Sharpie along a fold-out table. Volunteers, drop your names. The marker squeaks across the first lines. When he gets to mine, the tip hesitates. Henry Caldwell, I say. Staying with Michael? He asks, not unkind. Clang, staying in the neighborhood, I answer. Mrs. Lively arrives in a wave of floral perfume and plastic forks. This is Michael's dad. He's staying with them. She smiles. Blessing to have family close. Blessing, I echo. An ice chest clunks. The generator hiccups. The music dies. Grills keep on like nothing happened. Silence gives words too much room. Michael finds that room. He raises his voice the way men do when they want every ear without admitting it. Dad, no lights during the day, remember? We can't afford your habits. Heads turn. I count 2 beats, like I'm waiting on a signal I know is late. Habits, I say. Karen steps in like a stage manager fixing a cue. House rules are house rules, she says to the board guy, to Mrs. Lively, to the heir. We all pay our share. Name the owner, I say, before you name the rules. A few people laugh the way folks laugh when the joke might be mean. The board man looks at Michael to see how he wants it handled. Michael smiles a little. We're talking about shared costs, Dad, not titles. Titles come with bills, I say. I remember both. Karen leans close enough that the smell of lighter fluid travels with her. Don't make this ugly, she says softly. Then louder to the neighbors. We love having him. He just needs reminders. Reminders, I say, are different from rules built for one person. Mrs. Lively fidgets with her bracelet. Well, we're all pitching in next week. Could use extra coolers. Infertility. Henry's bringing ice, Karen says sweetly. 3 bags? 4, I say. 3 is fine, Karen answers. The generator kicks the music back in at half volume. A kid runs past screeching. If the board man taps the sign-up sheet with a Sharpie, hearings next month, by the way, he says to no one in particular, budget stuff. Hearings are for people who listen, I say. Michael's voice edges up again. He's living rent-free, he tells the cluster nearest him. We're just asking for a fair share. Lights off. Water not running all afternoon. Simple. I look at him the way I looked at Foreman, who mistook bark for plan. I'll look at whatever you send, I say, and I'll see it. You'll see numbers, he says. No arguing with those. Numbers never argue, I answer. They just get used. Karen reaches for my elbow. A gentle steer. Let's not do this here, she says, smiling at a neighbor while her fingers press a little too firm. We're a united house. We are, I say, and slip my arm away. A neighbor I don't know well. The kind who mows on diagonals, says, your son keeps a tidy place. He says it like a compliment and a test. I taught him the broom, I say. Tylee laughs, then stops when she sees Karen's mouth. Anyway, she says, weather held. Always does until it doesn't, I reply. Being mistaken for a boarder stings more than sun on the neck. Michael stacks paper plates at the trash like he's closing shift. You ready to head back? He asks. It sounds like take your nap. I'll walk, I say. Good to see folks. Karen's smile has the shine of Tupperware. We'll see you at dinner. We'll see, I say. I wander the edge of the lawn, letting conversations glance off. The banner flaps once, the D-0 tag snapping like a cheap pennant. Lively's cousin pops up. If your son ever sells his place, tell him to call me. And the words pass through me like a joke overheard from the next table. Will do, I say. The air is slick with sauce and charcoal and something else, order, maybe, or the performance of it. At the curb, I steady myself on the mailbox post and watch the neighbor kids take turns missing a wobbly toss of a beanbag.
Michael looks good here.
He likes stages with rules he can point at. Dad, he calls. Lights off inside when you get there. I lift a hand without turning. Copy. On the walk home, the sidewalk is a patchwork of repairs, each square stamped with a year I could tell you stories about. The house waits with its careful temperature and its laminated kindness. My phone fits my palm like a tool. I open a fresh message and type, Marta, Union on the line. Subject, deed. I write nothing else and don't send it. Another draft, Ray Turner, Realtor. Subject, deed. I leave that one breathing in the outbox too. The drafts sit there like trains idling on adjacent tracks, quiet engines ready to move when the signal turns. The Union Hall still smells like burnt coffee and oil soap. The hallway trophy case holds photos of men in jackets too big and smiles too small. I recognize more faces than I want to. Marta waves me in. Henry Caldwell, look at you, sit, I said. The chair wobbles, then decides not to. Marta sets a styrofoam cup down, steam dribbling into the air like a tiny freight. I need to know if old papers still mean what they said, I tell her. They do, she says. Deeds don't retire. I breathe once through my nose. My son says I'm living rent-free. Your son says a lot of things, she cocks her head. What do you want back? My name, where it belongs, I say, and the temperature set by the person paying for it. Mush, Marta half smiles. That's poetry and policy. You'll need both. From the hall, the coffee urn hisses. Earl, a retired steward with shoulders like a boxcar, leans in the doorway. Caldwell? Well, I'll be. Still vertical, I tell him. He thumbs toward Marta. She's meaner than a grievance form when someone's lying. You're in good hands. I'm not looking to fight, I say. Good, Earl says. You're looking to win. Paper beats noise every time. He taps the doorframe and keeps moving. The room settles. Tata slides a small notepad toward herself, not me. You're not the first to sit in that chair with family talking like landlords. Here's my counsel. You don't argue feelings with people who turn them into invoices. You show them the right piece of paper at the right time with the right witness. Witness matters? Everything matters. In order. And you keep your voice calm. She takes a breath, looks past me at the old wall calendar with a red circle around Friday. Deadlines do half the talking. Friday, I say. She nods. You'll hear about it again. Unprotected up the cup and sip. Weak coffee, strong effect. I kept quiet to keep peace. How's that working? Marta asks. Loud peace, I say. Quiet me. Flip that. She reaches into a drawer and takes out a small card. She doesn't slide it to me yet. There's a realtor who doesn't blink when families get slippery. You don't sign anything today. You don't shout anything today. You call. You get information. That's all. As the Union Hall clock clicks, I hear my own breathing. Information, I say. Paper's tempo, she says. Now, what exactly did your boy say? That I'm draining them, that I should pay rent to keep it clear. Marta's mouth tightens. Clear is what people say when they don't want to say fair. She turns the card over, reads it herself like she's testing the letters, then finally places it by my cup. Ray Turner. Keep my hands on the cup. If I pick that up, I'm telling myself something I can't take back. Discredit. You already told yourself, she says. You came in. From the corridor comes the rubbery peel of the bulletin board being restapled. The hall looks both the same and different as men age out and new faces don't know where the extra chairs hide. The calendar glows dull in the fluorescent light, Friday circled, numbers waiting their turn. The phone in my pocket buzzes. I don't need to pull it out to know the tone. I look anyway. Take Michael. Voicemail. Utilities are due Friday, Dad, don't forget. Marta raises an eyebrow at the word Friday. I put the phone face down. He sets the thermostat by the clock, I say. Then let the clock do some work for you, she says. You don't need to convince him today. You need to stop surrendering ground. I don't want to break him, I say. He's still my son. You're not the one swinging, she says, gentle. You're the one bracing. I let the cup warm my fingers. Relief spreads like a small light, anger riding its shoulder. Dignity sits up and clears its throat. A younger guy passes the door, glances in, and keeps going when he sees Earl looking down the hall. I didn't realize how much I missed being in a place where my name did a little work without me. Marta taps the table. 2 steps, quiet. 1, confirm what you already know. 2, schedule a conversation with the realtor. No fireworks. You keep your voice low and your papers ready. Respect isn't payable on the first, I say. She grins. It accrues. I reach out and slide the card toward me, half an inch, then another. Ray Turner looks back in neat serif letters. Not have to dial, Marta says. You only have to decide if you're the man who dials. Killing, I used to decide bigger things. Muscle, she says. Smaller target. I stand. The chair doesn't wobble this time. At the door, I look at the wall again. The red circle around Friday stitched through with pushpin holes from years of notices. Earl's right, I say. Paper beats noise. Bring your calm, Marta says. And don't tell them what you're doing. Make the paper do the talking later. In the hallway, the coffee urn hisses again, like it's heard this plan before and approves. I put the card in my pocket and pat it once, as if a name could be a tool and not a weapon. Outside, the sun has that clean noon brightness that makes everything look more honest than it is. I think of the sticky note on the fridge and the voice in my voicemail and the long, steady sound a train makes when it clears a crossing and keeps going. I don't call Ray Turner, he card deeper in my pocket, and start home, letting the number ride with my keys, unread and decided. The hallway, the color of weak tea. The wall clock above the picture rail ticks loud enough to sound official. Michael stands at my door with his palm open like he's stopping traffic. Quick spot check, he says. House policy. Cartridges appears behind him with a clipboard, the kind they buy in bulk. Safety check, she corrects, smiling. We do this for everyone. You've never done it for everyone, I say. It starts today, she answers, and writes nothing. Michael holds up a brass key. Master key. Show me the lock you own, I say. Grandparents. He looks at Karen. Policy is policy. It is if you wrote it, I say, and step back from the door without opening it. Calm. Always calm. Marta's voice in my pocket. Don't shout, show. Karen taps her pen. You signed the house rules. I read them, I say. They don't say. Undead clarity, Michael says, sliding the key toward the knob. The hallway AC clicks on. A low hum runs under everything like a warning. I lift my phone, screen down, thumb finding the camera the way my hands used to find a wrench in the dark. The live view shows Michael's shoulder and the wall clock over his head. Its second hand trembles at 6:04. Necessary, Karen says, seeing the phone. Tation isn't a problem, I say. You like documentation. He key into the knob and twists. The latch doesn't give. He tries again, jaw set. The privacy latch I added last week holds like a small, honest thing. Door's sticking, he says. No, I answer. It's holding. He jiggles harder, metal whispers against metal. The clock ticks. I keep the frame steady, his hand, the key, the knob, the clock above him. I say nothing for 3 beats. Karen's smile thins. We can have a locksmith out tomorrow, she says, adds. You just told me you had a master key, I say. Which one is it, mastery or safety? Karen steps closer. We don't have to argue. We're checking for space heaters, extension cords, things that cause fires. I've worked around more electricity than you've seen, I say. And I still don't go into a man's room without being asked. Michael tries again. The key teeth chirp against brass. The latch holds. He looks past me as if the door will answer to the part of him that likes answering for things. You can ask, I say. He pulls the key out, breathes through his nose, and pockets it like he's decided not to break something today. Open it then. Not during a policy I didn't agree to, I say. Name the hazard you think is inside. Karen writes a meaningless check mark. Non-compliance noted, she murmurs, as if the clipboard were a judge. Noted where, I ask. In the binder, she says, which is not an answer. Michael straightens. We're changing the locks tomorrow. Karen toward him, then thinks better and keeps her whisper close to his ear. I still hear it. Change the locks tomorrow. The hallway gets colder by a hair. I keep the camera on for 1 more second. The knob, the key that didn't turn, the clock that did. Then I drop the phone to my side and press stop. The clip saves with a smug little chime. Policy meeting over, I say. Anything else on your list? Michael stares at the door, then at me. Then at the floor where scuffs tell the story of shoes and years. We'll revisit, he says. Blankets, revisit, I echo. Karen's pen ticks twice on the paper. She puts a hand on his forearm, like she's reminding him where his edges are. Dinner in 10, she says to the air, then to me. And please keep lights off in rooms you're not using. I keep them off in rooms I'm not welcome in, I say. She starts to reply, then swallows it. They walk away toward the kitchen, soles soft on old wood. The AC keeps its steady hum like a held breath. I let my palm settle on the thermostat by the hall. Steady, not turning, not asking. My hand is warm, the plastic is cool. I step away. Politically comes like a thin breath, anger riding right behind it. I watch the clip back once with the sound low. Michael's key tries and fails. The wall clock gives me the only number I need. I title it Hall, Policy Check, and tuck it into a folder I don't name aloud. From the kitchen, plates clink, voices lower. Karen says it again, softer. Change the locks tomorrow. Michael doesn't answer. Caught the phone, thumb over the glass like I'm smoothing a wrinkle out of a shirt, and lean my ear toward the house to hear if anything else is coming. Nothing does. Just the hum and the clock, both doing their jobs. I close my door until the latch kisses home and sit on the edge of the bed with the phone in my palm. The house speaks in small house sounds. A fork clatters, a cupboard sighs. The TV throws laughter through the wall and swallows it again. I dial the number on Marta's card. Ray Turner, a voice says, like he's been expecting my call all day. Henry Caldwell, I answer. I need information, quiet and correct. Best kind, he says. Tell me what you know. I know my name belongs on a piece of paper, I say. I know my son likes rules more when he writes them. Ray's smile is audible. We can verify title and move in stages. Do not bring papers tonight. Bring your calm. When can you talk in person? Minimized, I say. In my office, side door, noon. No need to tip the house yet. I stand and pace the length of the rug, heel to edge to heel. This stays private. Evidence stays private until the papers talk, he says. Also, market runs on 30-day cycles. If we greenlight, we move briskly, photos then offers. Understood. Footsteps cross the hallway. The router light throws a soft green blink under my door. Michael calls down it. Wi-Fi's slow. What are you downloading? Nothing, I call back. Ray waits. I can hear you choosing your words, he says quietly. Choosing is most of it, I say. Good. Thursday, noon. Bring ID and if you have them, originals. If not, don't fret. County records carry more weight than kitchen drawers. Kitchen drawer, my eyes move to the desk. Top right, the envelope sits there like a held breath. Fiberglass, a soft knock. Karen, everything okay in there? New, I say. Ray lowers his voice another step. If they press, don't argue. Say you're on with an old friend. Keep it faint and boring. Boring saves lives, I say. Boring closes deals. The TV laughter swells and stops. Michael again, nearer. Door time in 5. He says it like a nurse starting rounds. I need to make copies, I tell Ray. Not tonight. Tomorrow. Use a place that doesn't know your family name. And Henry, call me from outside the house when you can. You sound like a man being listened to. He's not wrong, I say. Or Karen taps the doors. You need anything? Privacy, I answer. Old man's privacy. She hesitates. Dinner will be late. Don't wait. I won't, I say. Ray clears his throat. Thursday, noon, he repeats. Side door. If anyone asks, you're dropping off an old union form. And if they don't ask, don't tell. A pause lengthens on purpose. My nerves buzz, then settle, like a wire that finally finds a stud. Copy, I say. Another thing, Ray adds. When people smell a plan, they invent one for you. Let them. We'll move on facts. Facts and witnesses, I say. Brian, exactly. Karen's steps travel down the hall, slow enough to count. I cross to the desk and pull the top drawer a thumb width. The manila of the envelope shows its edge. I palm it and slide it under an old railroad manual on the dresser, where it looks like nothing to nobody. Swampy? Karen again, closer than before. Wildfires, I say. Mom, give him space. Then to me, less kindly, we'll need your numbers by Friday. Friday's not far, I say. Ray inhales, lets it out. I'll text you the address with a bland subject line. Do not reply. Understood. Through the door, a router blink, the TV murmurs a weather alert, a fork clinks as if it's giving testimony. I sit back on the bed to make my voice sound casual. Ray, I'm here. If this goes fast, it goes quiet. It goes professional, he says. Quiet is a byproduct of professional. Michael's voice again, louder. Dad? Karen tries the knob. It holds. The latch isn't brave, just loyal. Take to end, I tell Ray. Thursday, noon, he repeats. Side door. Right, I say, and the word leaves my mouth like a train clearing a crossing. The envelope lives under my hand on the dresser just long enough to feel like a decision. I peel my palm off it and aim it back toward the drawer as the knob turns a quarter inch. Everything all right? Karen asks, pushing the door that polite amount that counts as asking after the fact. Fine, I say, slipping the envelope away, the drawer sliding shut with a sound only old wood makes. Just talking to an old friend. Ray is still on the ling, he says softly. Boring, I echo and hang up. Karen's eyes go to my hands, then to the dresser, then nowhere. Need anything? She repeats. Privacy isn't a policy, I say, it's a door. She decides not to argue with that and lets the door rest half open like a question. The hallway breathes its ordinary air back into the room. Take dinner in 20, she says finally, and leaves. I stand still until the router blink feels normal again. I put the phone face down, the screen black as a shut mouth, and sit with the quiet that follows. Resolve is a small flame. Suspicion is the wind that proves it's there. Thursday evening lays a thin shine over the counters. The whiteboard by the fridge has today's dinner and a line in darker ink. Lease renew, 14 days. Karen underlined it twice. Good to see you reading house notes, she says. I read everything, I say. Michael pulls a folded spreadsheet out of a drawer and taps the corner with a fingernail. Utilities, groceries, insurance, every dollar accounted for. Numbers can say anything, I tell him. Depends on the hand behind them. Karen glances toward the front window as if it could listen. This isn't a debate, Henry. This is our home, our rules. Name the owner before you name the rules, I say, the words steady, not loud. Power flicker dims the kitchen for a breath. The oven gives a sharp beep as the clock catches itself. Michael smiles like the house agrees with him. See? Costs. Karen plants her marker under the words 14 days. We keep timelines because adults keep commitments. I've kept more commitments than this house has kept pain, I say. She turns her head toward my open bedroom door. The photocopy rests on my desk, angled careless as a drop flyer. My name rides the top line in clean black letters. Henry Caldwell. Karen's eyes sharpen. What's that? A piece of paper, I say. Michael steps into the doorway and reaches without touching. Where'd you get this? Drawer, I say. Of our house, Karen adds. My desk, I correct. Michael lifts the page, slow, like it could stain. He reads aloud enough to make meaning and stops short of confessing he understands it. Warranty, Caldwell, parcel. Finish it, I say. Holds the page like it might burn either way. Old paper, he says finally. Could be anything. Could be the truth, I answer. Karen's smile goes thin and then thinner. Forgery won't save you, she says, and the word forgery hangs in the air like a new smell. Me my signature on a house you own, I say. Michael's jaw moves side to side the way it used to when he wanted to win and didn't know how. You think waving an old photocopy means you're not living here on our dime? I think it means what it says, I tell him. Karen taps the whiteboard twice. 14 days. Lease renews. If you want to stay, you pay a share. If you want to play games with fake papers, we can take it to court. Court, Michael repeats like he's tasting the word for the first time and deciding it fits him. You don't need a courtroom to read a name, I say. Enfolds the spreadsheet and lays it on the table like a map of a country he just conquered. June utilities, he says. Groceries for 4. Insurance. Every dollar accounted. Atima. Where, I ask. Your math doesn't include the years that built the table you're tapping. Connection. It includes the light in the hallway, Dad. The water you let run. The AC you crank because you forget. Plagued, I don't forget, I say, I decide. Karen points the marker at the photocopy in Michael's hand. You're not decided on this. This is a joke. Worse, it's a lie. I name, I say, you can call it what you want. It doesn't make the letters different. It's a slow breath. You bring that to a judge and they'll laugh you out of the room. Bring what? I ask. My name? Karen's voice drops a half step and adds a smile I don't recognize. We'll say it cleanly for you. Forgery won't save you. The air cools a little more. The oven clock ticks back to life like nothing happened. Pred sheet and slides it toward me like a bill pushed at a diner. You owe a share, and you owe some respect. I owe what I owe, I say, so do you. Karen crosses the room and plants herself just inside my doorway. Pack that up, she says, chin toward the desk. You don't leave paperwork out in shared spaces. My room isn't a shared space, I say. It is while you live under our roof, Michael says. Our roof, I repeat, as if the phrase itself might crack if tapped right. He takes a step into my room and stops because he remembers the last time the key didn't turn. That memory does a little job for me and I let it. Court will, he says. What? Court will decide, he clarifies. If you want to make this legal, we will. I keep my voice level. I prefer reading to posturing. He laughs once. So read the spreadsheet. I did, I say. It reads, fear dressed as math. Karen inhales through her nose, marker cap snapping back on like a lid on a feeling. This conversation is over. It is, I say. I step to the desk and with 2 fingers lift the photocopy from Michael's hand without touching his skin. I don't look at him again. I walk it to the drawer, slide it on top of an envelope I haven't named for them, and push the wood closed until it seals with that little old house sigh. Behind me, Karen says it again, softer and nearer. Forgery won't save you. Malignant adds, court will. Foreclosure. For a breath, I believe them. The room tilts the way a bridge does when a train enters from the far end. Then the rails settle, the weight spreads, and I remember whose name is on the steel. I turn, empty-handed and calm. We'll see which paper holds. No one answers. The oven clock glows its quiet green numbers. The whiteboard keeps 14 days like a dare. I touch the edge of the drawer with one knuckle. Not a knock, not a vow, just the feel of old oak answering back. The house is quiet enough to hear the ice maker think about it. I sit at the desk with the phone on speaker, volume 2, mouth close. Ray Turner, he says. You ready to move from thinking to doing? Say. Quietly. H is of professional, he says. We'll stage it so the house never notices. Photos at dawn, 2 showings by noon. Side gate, shoes off, no prints. Neighbors? They'll assume spring cleaning. If anyone asks, you're sorting boxes. I glance at the door. The hall light is a soft band under it. A little river I don't want to disturb. Boxes, I repeat. He says, isn't to you, it's to my photographer. You don't move a finger. I move mine. Your job is to keep everything boring until I tell you otherwise. Boring I can do. Good. Second, offers come fast in this market. If we like one, we open escrow same day. You'll hear the words 30-day possession, standard. We'll keep occupancy lawful and calm. Demolished and calm, I say. A floorboard outside gives a small complaint, then Michael's voice close to the door. You on with the bank? Old friend, I say, not raising my voice. Talking memories. Medics, he answers, the kind of word that means the opposite. His shadow drifts under the door and stalls, then moves on. Ray waits out the silence like a man who has worked around family before. Henry, he says when it's safe, your wins are going to look like errands until the last day. Don't rush the show. I'm not hungry for a show, I tell him. I'm hungry for heat I set myself. That comes with the deed in a closing sheet, he says. But tonight we talk tactics, not trophies. His voice drops a notch. Do you have originals? I do, I say. I don't say where. I'll bring them Thursday. Bring you Thursday, he corrects. The papers can follow when we need them. If you get pressed, you're going for coffee with an old union friend. Use that phrasing. I can do that. Now, we pick a window. Photographer at 7. I'll text you a time block that looks like a dentist appointment. Don't confirm. Just be awake. Awake is my hobby, I say. He chuckles. Good. Next, if you see a family message with a clip or spreadsheet, don't respond tonight, let it hang. Why? Because you're not on their timetable anymore. The floorboard gives again, lighter this time, either Karen barefoot or the house remembering a different weight. I turn my chair an inch so the back blocks the desk drawer from the door's line of sight. The old wood knows how to keep its own counsel. Ray, I say, what happens if their mouths outrun the facts? Nothing, until a witness hears facts sung back at them, he says. You can't out-argue a story they've been rehearsing. You can only show them a new ending at the right time. Upheld for signals, I say, whole career. Then you'll be good at this, he says. We don't miss our slot. Tomorrow you stay routine. Tuesday dawn we create enough distance to work. After that you'll feel the clock helping us. That Hallwell rubs the door like a man erasing a thought. Michael again. Need anything? Quiet, I say. I'm good. Letra's okay. Ray breathes out a small approval. That was the right word. Quiet? I'm good. People who are fishing for tells hate that phrase. Gives them nothing. I smile without showing anyone. Calm comes back like a coat you thought you'd thrown away. It still fits. I can give them nothing all week. Do, he says, we'll do the rest. And Henry, if your nerve dips between now and Tuesday, call me before you call them. We fix things at the calendar, not at the dinner table. Calengible, not table. I repeat. Exactly. Paper rustles on his end, but not the kind that wants to be seen. I'll text you the time block, don't reply. Tomorrow is maintenance. Tuesday is motion. Copy. The floorboard outside settles into its quiet. The house returns to ordinary domestic noises. The television purr, the refrigerator clearing its throat, pipes clicking once as if answering a question they weren't asked. Anything else? He asks. Just this, I say. If they push, I don't push back. You hold ground, he says. Different muscle, better outcome. Right. We end the call without a goodbye. Goodbyes are for audiences. The room sits with me a while. I can hear my own heart settle into the lower gear it uses when a plan has weight. The desk drawer looks like furniture to anyone who doesn't know it's a vault. From the kitchen, a plate knocks a counter, small, sharp, and a voice says, "Send it." The house swallows the rest. My phone pings. A banner floats over the lock screen with the clean neutrality of a calendar reminder. Family, new file added by Michael. I don't open it. Ray's office smells like toner and lemon cleaner, the scent of paper that means business. He keeps his voice low. A man who knows thin walls and thicker rumors. Offer at ask, cash, he says, tapping his screen. 30-day possession. You're good with that? I am, I say. I've lived inside other people's rules long enough. I can live inside a calendar. We open escrow now. He turns the monitor slightly my way, but not all the way, courtesy and caution in one motion. I'll say this out loud so the room hears it. MLS entry is time-stamped, countersigned minutes ago. We're inside the rails. Legalize the rails, I repeat. I hear the old yard whistle in my head and it steadies me more than coffee. Tay-Ray clicks once, twice, like a conductor lifting a baton. You'll get a bank text when the deposit hits. That's our visible receipt. My phone answers him with a neat vibration. I glance down. A plain line sits there like a seal that doesn't need a speech. Crimson received, 11:43 a.m. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding. Paper hums when truth runs through it. Ray nods toward the screen again, still careful not to show it to the window. That's our lock, D14 to closing. We keep possession lawful and polite. No surprises. Lawful and polite, I say. Music to a man who hates shouting. The speakerphone blips. Buyer's agent here, a woman says. Quick check. Property is occupied. Ray hits speaker. Yes. Notice will be served per statute, timeline firm, no occupancy drama. Breach, she laughs once. I like your confidence. It's not confidence, Ray says. It's sequence. I add, we'll keep the clock honest. Good line, she says. I'll hold you to it. The call clicks out. Ray's eyebrow lifts. You want to practice saying no? To what? To whatever they send you next. He tilts his chin toward my pocket like the phone can hear him. You're not available for their story today. Unleashed the screen over so the glass looks like quiet water. They've got a new one every week. Stories are like that, he says. Escrow isn't. We go through the movements that would take a man 2 hours if he were alone and take us 8 minutes together. His assistant's shoes whisper down the hall. A printer exhales. The office clock makes the softest click at the half minute. He narrates just enough for chain of custody without turning it into a sermon. Deposit acknowledged, he says. Escrow opened, calendar set. You'll see a neutral email, but don't answer it from home. Use the union machine or your church inbox if you must. Better yet, let me reply to everything that breathes. My specialty, I say. Tage, make it your only job this week. The phone buzzes again, the sort of buzz that says family. I don't turn it over. Ray watches me not turn it over and nods like a teacher who's seen the answer he wanted. Next step, he says, is nothing loud. You go home. You eat dinner. You let the day be boring on purpose. Boring is a plan, I say. Good. One more thing. If they call with concerns, you don't contradict. You also don't confirm. Say you'll look at it tomorrow. Tomorrow never gets here when escrow's doing the walking. I put my palms on my knees, feeling the old ache that comes from work that mattered. If they come with a spreadsheet, to Ray, and you hang up. Congest? That's simple. That's simple. You hired me to carry the hard words. My phone lights up with a name I know too well. I accept the call and stand, giving myself the length of the office to turn the volume down. Dad, Michael says. Did you get the video? Also, finalize your share by Friday. Utilities aren't a suggestion. I'm in a meeting, I say. With who? An old friend. He huffs. You always dodge. I always choose, I say, steady as a level. Send anything you want me to see to Ray. Who's Ray? You'll meet him when it's time, I say, and end the call before my breath has the chance to come in hot. Ray's smile is thin and satisfied. That, he says, is how you keep the clock honest. We sit a little longer with the quiet that follows a clean move. He prints nothing. I sign nothing. The room still feels full. Go, he says finally. Step from air conditioning to heat and tell yourself a number. What number? Foreground. The one you'll set when you don't have to ask. I step out into noon, like someone opened a kiln. The Kentucky sun lays its hand on my shoulders, and the first thought that rises is a simple, silly luxury. 72. Not a metaphor, a thermostat reading I pick without getting permission. On the sidewalk, a delivery van burps its brakes. A woman laughs behind me, and it has nothing to do with me at all. Good. The world can keep running. I cross the lot, lighten my grip on the phone, and let my stride find that old steady pace that took me across catwalks in the rain. Inside the cab, I turn the phone face up again, just long enough to see the bank line one more time. Funds received 11:43 a.m. Nothing else needs saying. Retally at the house, I park at the curb like a neighbor. The air inside has the kind of chill that tries too hard. Karen is wiping the counter in small, perfect circles. Michael stands by the sink with a new polite face on. You see the clip? He asks. Family chat. Mushed and I'm on errands, I say, setting my keys down. You raise your voice a lot, he says lightly, like he's selling a joke he doesn't believe. Iterated send anything important to Ray, I say. Ray? New friend, I answer, and take a glass from the rack, the way a man handles a Thule truss. Michael shrugs, but his eyes cut toward the hall like he's trying to see around a corner. Karen's circles get smaller. I don't gloat. Pride doesn't need noise. It needs rails. My phone gives me one last polite banner, careful font and all the confidence of a calendar entry. Receiver uploaded a new video. Dad raises voice. Again. I don't open it. The kitchen light throws a steady box of yellow over the table. Michael has the spreadsheet folded like a badge. Karen leans against the counter, arms crossed, a witness to her own case. Rental agreements exist for a reason, she says. They keep things clear. Point to my signature on a house you own, I say. Michael's smile is all patience. You're a tenant, Dad. It's just words and dates. Able to find them, I answer. My phone buzzes on the table, face up for once. An email floats over the lock screen in a clean, confident font. Subject purchase agreement. Countersigned 4:12 p.m. I don't open it. I let the subject line be the room's quiet center. KZ clocks the buzz and keeps going. We can take this to the board if you want. They'll hear fraud claims. People should know. People should know the truth, I say. Not the practice run. Michael lays the spreadsheet flat. Utilities, groceries, insurance, it's all here. Your share, calls. I step to the front porch and answer with my back to the door. Contracts locked, he says, voice low. Inspection waived, date set. We're on rails. Copy, I say. Steel settles under my ribs. Calm that doesn't ask permission is the best kind. Keep your answers short, Ray adds. If they invoke lease, you ask for your signature. If they say fraud, you say witnesses. If they say court, you say counsel. I'll carry the nouns, you carry your breath. Breath is paid up, I say. Through the door glass, Michael gestures big, selling a point I won't buy. Karen's mouth moves, precise. The fridge whiteboard behind them now reads in block letters, escrow D-12. I didn't write it. Maybe I don't need to. Anything else? I ask. One thing, Ray says. Don't gloat. The win is scheduled, not shouted. Understood. I slip the phone into my pocket and walk back in like I've just checked the weather. Karen folds her arms tighter. We're not afraid of court. I'm not either. I seed sheet. Then pay your share on Friday and stop making this complicated. Senenated anything important to Ray, I tell him. Who is Ray? Karen asks. Counsel, I say, calm as a level. Michael laughs once. You hired a lawyer? I hired a set of nouns, I say. He'll tell you which ones apply. Karen tilts her head. We have a rental agreement. Celeb and my signature on a house you own, I repeat. Silence eats a beat. The oven clicks. Somewhere a pipe knocks like it has an opinion. You're trying to embarrass us, Michael says. No, I say. I'm trying to keep the clock honest. He leans forward, voice low. You won't embarrass us. I won't need to, I say. Karen moves toward the hallway, eyes cutting to my room like the door owes her an answer. We'll bring this to the board, she says over her shoulder. People should know who they're dealing with. Good, I say. Invite witnesses. She stops measuring me. You always liked an audience. I like a record, I say. Different animal. Michael gathers the spreadsheet, squares its corners as if that makes the math kinder. Friday, he reminds me like the word can turn into a leash. Friday will arrive on its own, I say. It always does. The phone vibrates in my pocket, a polite tap on the hip. I don't look at it until I've put my glass in the rack and wiped the ring from the table. The screen wakes with a single message from Karen, clean and performative as a tape notice. Bubirno will hear this. People should know. Turbulence, I let it sit there, bright and unread. I dusk lays a nickel shine on the porch rail. The screen door snaps, and a young man in a polo, Ray's runner, steps out, smoothing a sheet against the siding with the heel of his hand. Tape rips, press. He steps back so the words sit eye level by the bell. Read me the top, I say. He does, steady. Notice to occupants. This property is in escrow. Possession will transfer pursuant to contract and law. Served, June 14. That'll do, I tell him. He nods once, professional and gone, the kind of help that leaves no footprints. Karen opens the door as the tape finishes singing. Take that down, she says. We didn't authorize flyers. It isn't a flyer, I say. It's notice. Michael shoulders in beside her. Fraud notice, he mutters. You can't just post lies on our house. Couse better at eye level, I say. Karen lifts a phone like a citation pad. Board will hear this. Elder abuse by paperwork. You think they won't touch that? Wilmington and I say, they can read too. Leashes click. Ruth slows at the sidewalk, visor catching the last light. Two other neighbors drift, the way people do when a story is trying to choose them. Karen points at the page, not reading it. You forged something, a deed, an agreement, whatever this is. Michael adds louder for the lawn. We have a lease. He's a tenant. He's been warned. Tangled. Words are free, I say. Paper costs effort. I put my fingertip under the single line that needs no help. Served, June 14, and don't say another number. The page does its work without my mouth. Ruth clears her throat. Everything all right? Knowledgeable smiles thin. We're dealing with a misunderstanding. Shuffled cure quick when read out loud, I say. Michael laughs once. Dad, stop performing. I'm posting, I say. Pride walks on careful feet. It doesn't need a parade. Blackjack the terrier snuffs at the grass. The neighbor with diagonal mower lines whispers, heard there was a fake sale. The word fake travels like a cheap song. I turn so my shoulder, not my chest, faces the little crowd. If anyone wants to read a real sentence, the doorbell is right there. Karen gestures big enough to catch eyes. Well, good, I say. Ruth? She steps closer, cautious but not afraid. Would you be willing to stand here with me tomorrow and read this out loud? I ask. 3 o'clock, no speeches. We just read. Michael sucks his teeth. We're not doing theater. Isn't theater, I say. Ruth looks from me to Karen to the paper. I don't take sides, she says. You don't have to, I say. Just the lines. Karen huffs. This is harassment. Harass requires contact, I say. This is a wall. Once, small but real. Tomorrow at 3 then, we'll read it together. Karen's smile thins to nothing. Michael's eyes go to the date line and stay there. Like numbers might blink if you stare hard enough.
Tage, Faye, I tell Ruth. She tips 2 fingers off the visor brim, steps back to the sidewalk and lets the terrier lead again as if paper never cost anyone anything.
Karen lowers her phone. You won't win by taping lies. I'm not trying to win, to be clear. Michael leans in. That notice doesn't make anything true. It doesn't have to, I say. It only has to be read. I hold the door for them without moving my feet. After a beat, they go inside, the kind of retreat that pretends it isn't one. I stay with the page and the porch light hum and the last workable breeze. Tomorrow matters, and the paper will do the talking. The fridge whiteboard has learned a new truth in block letters. Escrow D10. Nobody admits who wrote it. Ray calls as I rinse a glass. Watch your screen, he says. The phone buzzes in my palm, neat as a stamp. Irreversible, 10:06 a.m. We let the silence honor it. That's funds locked, Ray says. Chains clean. You don't need to say a word to anyone today. I can manage not speaking, I say. Relief feels like air, finally making the last turn into the lungs. Good. Calendar does the talking. If they bait you, root to me. Chechen reappears. Sunlight, crumbs, the slow tick of the cheap wall clock. Karen steps in with her phone already at her ear. Hi, Tina, she says, bright and performative. Question. Tenant complaints, do those go on the agenda? Oh, they do? Great. She taps speaker without asking. We're dealing with a situation? Tina's voice is thin and helpful. Tenant issues go under new business, keep it factual. Escalating drifts to the doorway like a hired echo. Factual is our brand, he says. I set my glass down. You can't audit what you don't own. Karen cups the phone. We'll keep this civil, she says, petals over thorns. Back to speaker. Lease violations, non-compliance, maybe forged paperwork. Do those count as facts? Keep the word maybe out of the minutes. Of course, Karen says, eyes on me. Thanks, Tina. The call ends. Karen lowers the phone, but not her chin. Tenant compliance isn't optional. I'm not a tenant, I say. I'm the reason the roof learned our name. Michael folds his arms. Then pay your share on Friday and stop staging little scenes. Send anything important to Ray, I say. Your counsel won't change the board, Karen says. The board can read, I answer. Michael smirks. You raise your voice in the chat again, and everyone's going to see it. Your clip had good lighting, I say. Shame about the truth. Fingered, he takes a half step, then thinks better of it. Agenda item goes in today. Crier items aren't gags, I say. They're microphones. Karen's gaze flicks to D, -10 on the board and back. Clocks don't scare me. They shouldn't, I say. They only tell on us. From the porch, the hinge sighs, as if the house is tired of being a witness. I walk to the door and let a little outside in. The day smells like warmed concrete and cut grass. Anything else? I ask without turning. No, Karen says. Too quickly. Then let's keep the day quiet, I say, and close the door with my hand still on the knob a second longer than necessary. Back at the counter, the phone blinks a preview from the HOA app. Clean font, polite tone. Unfinished item added, tenant issue. I don't open it. Doubt flickers a moth at the porch light. The wire's weight holds steady in my hand. Postpone, the kind of light that makes edges cruel. I stand on the porch by the eye-level notice. Through the door glass, the fridge whiteboard throws a ghosted block of letters. Escrow D9. I don't touch the handle. Ruth steps up in her visor, small notepad in hand like a shield. We just read it, she says. Together, I answer. Trailed arrives first, smile lacquered. Michael follows with his arms folded and an audience already forming. Mrs. Lively, diagonal mower neighbor, a couple walking a lab that sniffs everything that might be scandal. Ruth clears her throat. Notice to... Yugi cuts across her. We're not doing performances today. Reading English isn't theater, I say. Michael lifts his chin toward the small cluster. This is a tenant problem. He won't follow house rules, won't pay his share. Ruth tries again, voice steady. Notice to occupants. This property is... Karen's palm floats up like a stop sign. We dispute the notice. It's fraudulent. To Ruth, please don't spread lies. It's read the lines, I say. Truth likes daylight. Male Mr. Lively sidles closer, phone already at half-mast. We all just want clarity, she offers. Clarity is rent paid on time, Michael says louder now. Lights off, water off, no scenes in the yard. Querrell, I look at him. Name the owner before you name the rules. He takes a half-step toward Ruth, using politeness as a handle. Ma'am, you don't have to get dragged into family drama. I'm not dragged, Ruth says, eyes on the page. I'm reading. Karen laughs a small, sharp laugh. He printed something off the internet and taped it up. There is a lease. He is a tenant. End of story. If truth scares you, I say, it isn't mine, that's the problem. That awkward sound people make when the line lands cleaner than the moment deserved. Michael turns his head so everyone can see his patience. Dad, pay the rent or get out. The words hang like a belt in the air. The lab whines, someone shushes a kid, brings her finger back to the first line and reads, slower, firmer. Notice to occupants. Possession will transfer pursuant to contract and law. Karen's voice sharpens. We contest that. Board meets soon. We'll fast-track it. Emergency agenda, Michael adds, proud of the phrase. Good, I say. Invite witnesses. Karen angles her body to block Ruth. Don't let him use you. I'm letting the paper use me, Ruth says, surprising both of us. Mrs. Lively raises her phone now without apology. If we're doing board talk, I'm recording so the thread has what was said. Fine, Karen says, record this. He's trying to evict us from our own house with lies. I keep my hands at my sides. Record this. We're reading what's posted. Michael looks right past me to the cluster. He lives here rent-free. He contributes drama, not money. The years you lived on my paychecks weren't drama, I say. That was the past, he snaps. We're talking now. Ruth presses on louder. Served, June. Karen lunges with a word, not a hand. Stop, you don't know what you're reading. Uninterrupted, Ruth answers. We all learned them. Isolation burns like sun on the back of the neck. Under it, something harder slides into place. Michael squares up to me as if cameras were a kind of judge. So here's the choice, he announces for the crowd. Pay the rent or get out. You keep repeating that like repetition turns a threat into a rule, I say. Because clarity helps people, Karen says, performing calm. Tenant rules keep everyone safe. I nod at the porch rail, steady old wood under my knuckles. Safety starts with truth. Ruth looks between us, then puts her finger back to the dateline as if she can nail the moment to the board. Served, she reads, and finishes it clean. A hush follows that isn't respect. It's judgment shopping for a cart. Diagonal mower whispers, Board's going to love this, to Mrs. Lively. She doesn't whisper back. She lifts her phone higher. Henry, Karen says sweetly enough to make Sugar suspicious. You're embarrassing yourself. Take it down, or we will. It's not yours to remove, I say. It's ours to read. Michael turns to the cluster. You see what we're dealing with. The lab sneezes. The kid laughs, then stops, then whispers. Is he getting kicked out? No, I tell the kid, and I don't raise my voice to reach him. We're reading. Karen steps back to the door. Enough, inside. Flushed, I say, not moving, not pleading, just the weight of a name. She looks at the page one more time and nods. Read, she says this time to herself. And she does, line by line, even as Karen opens the door and paints the threshold with disapproval. Michael sighs big for the crowd. You'll be hearing from the board. I expect it, I say. Mrs. Lively tilts her phone so the screen faces her thumb. I'm posting this to the HOA thread. She looks at me briefly, neutral as a clock. My own phone buzzes in my pocket, bright with a preview I don't open. Evening collects in panes and corners. Through the door glass, the fridge whiteboard throws a faint block of letters. Escrow, D-8. I leave it alone. The way you leave a clock alone when you need it to keep working. Take Karen's voice arise before she does. Emergency agenda, she calls from the hallway, pleased with the phrase like it's a new appliance. Tonight. Michael follows, phone in his palm like a badge. We talked to a lawyer friend. There's a path to a stay, temporary restraining order, injunction, pick your noun. Pick one and send it to Ray, I say. Take warmth. We'll send it to the board. Pats to the porch rail with her terrier and a careful face. Mrs. Lively is already there, phone up at half-mast. Other neighbors slow the way people do when they smell a story they didn't pay for. Michael spreads his arms to the little crowd. Tenant issue escalated. We're doing this the right way. The right way starts with reading, I say. Karen gestures grandly at the tape notice beside the bell. This, fraudulent, the board can freeze it while they investigate. A rumor isn't a stay, it's a wish in a louder font, I say. Tay Lively huffs a laugh, then hides it in her sleeve. Michael turns to catch eyes. We have a lease. He's in violation. Emergency action exists for exactly this. Point to my signature, I say. Karen's chin lifts. The agenda tonight will include tenant non-compliance and potential fraud. Ruth clears her throat. Let's keep it neighborly, she says. We're not a courtroom. Yet, Michael says. I keep my hands at my sides. Calm as a craft, I hold it. Karen drops her volume so it carries farther. He's been bullying us with paperwork. Paperwork talks. I stand next to it, I say. Michael takes a step toward me. You think this will scare us? Clocks don't scare anyone, I say. They just tell on us. He glances past me through the glass like he can read the board from here. Maybe he can. D-8 hangs there like a dare he didn't write. Neighbors filter closer. The diagonal mower man murmurs. My cousin had a TRO once, froze everything. We said another voice. Yeah, stays can last months. Lively's thumb flicks across her screen like she's fanning a flame. Karen turns to them, palms open. Exactly. We'll ask the board to request one while they review. Elder exploitation is real. People should know. But between a rumor and a ruling, I say. Michael points at me as if I were misfiled furniture. He won't pay a dime. Won't follow simple rules. Lights off, water off, respect the quiet. How hard is that? Uffle's starting with truth, I say. Brows climb. Truth is rent by Friday. Send that to Ray, I say, yuffs once. Your council won't save you from community standards. Community standards include reading, I say. Ruth? Ruth lifts a hand halfway, then lets it fall. I can read, she says, but I can't referee. Well, don't have to, I answer. Just the lines. Michael cuts in. No more stunts. We're fast-tracking. Our friend says we can get a stay in place, enforce status quo. No showings, no transfers, nothing. Adjectives all night, I say. Paper beats noise in the morning. Karen's smile tightens. That notice is coming down. It isn't yours, I say. Neither is this house, Michael snaps. It is, I say, with no more heat than a level on a board. And it will be until paper says otherwise. Karen neighbors again. See, he won't listen. I am listening, I say. to nouns you haven't earned. Karen steps to the door and puts 2 fingers on the edge of the tape sheet like she might tear it. Ruth moves without thinking, a tiny step forward and a polite, "Please, it's enough." Karen drops her hand, lift a little higher. The terrier yawns, unconvinced by any of us. Michael digs for new fuel. "HOA thread has the clips," he announces. He raised his voice. He's disruptive. "You cut the clips," I say. I think things are stuff. He blinks like he didn't plan for that line. Karen recovers. "Emergency agenda is tonight. We'll seek guidance on a stay and on," she searches for the shape that will please a crowd, "on protecting residents." "I'm a resident," I say. "Tenant," Michael counters. Tightened, point to my signature, I repeat. A neighbor who hasn't spoken yet says, "Let the board sort it." Another adds, "They can freeze things while they check." The rumor grows muscle as it walks. "Dittare," I say again. It isn't a chant, it's my only invitation. Karen's smile returns. "We'll send it to everyone." Ruth shifts her weight. "Maybe let the board do its meeting without us on the lawn." "Confiscated," Lively says, not looking up from her phone. Karen angles toward the door. "Inside," she tells Michael, "we have prep to do." Then to me, "You're not winning this with smug lines and tape." "Winning anything tonight," I say. "I'm waiting." "Waiting for what?" Michael asks.
Take for the clock to do its job, I say.
They go in together, shoulders squared like men walking past a camera they picked. The door sighs shut. The porch light hasn't kicked on yet. The day holds a last edge of color like a receipt printed too light. Uruk lingers. "You okay but breathing?" She nods. "I'll keep my eyes on the nouns." That's all I'm asking. She heads down the path. Lively stays a moment more, phone up, thumbs busy. She doesn't look at me as she backs away, which tells me everything about her confidence in her thread. In the living room, chairs scrape. Voices pick up pace. Agenda, stay, tenant, words with elbows. My phone buzzes. I turn it face up just long enough to read the preview in a font that never sweats. HOA. Emergency agenda tonight. Eviction stay. I don't open it. 5:30 light pours through the entry like it's got a job. The tape notice sits where it always has, eye level, unbothered. Through the door glass, the fridge whiteboard shows a ghosted escrow D-7. I leave the door open. Neighbors drift in a slow arc across the lawn. Ruth with her visor, Mrs. Lively with her phone already up, diagonal mower, 2 others who know a story when they hear one starting. Karen is glossy with certainty. Michael has his arms crossed like they're the last barrier he can control. Ray Turner steps through the gate the way a man walks into a yard he's already mapped. "Evening," he says to the cluster, voice low and professional. "I'm Ray Turner. I represent Mr. Caldwell." He doesn't raise a paper. He doesn't have to. Status, escrow open and firm. Possession transfers in 7 days. That's sequence, not opinion. Karen smiles at the crowd. "We're contesting that. Emergency agenda. Possible stay." "Mile isn't a ruling," Ray says, still pleasant. His throat big. "He's a tenant. There's a lease. House rules apply." "Point to my signature," I say. Mrs. Lively's camera eye blinks. Ruth looks at the notice, then at me. I nod once. "Let's read," I say, out loud. Ruth reads the top line, careful and clean. "Notice to occupants, this property is in escrow. Possession will transfer pursuant to contract and law." Karen steps in, palms out. "He taped that. It's not real. He's bullying us with paper and lies." "No bullying," Ray says, still a half step back. "Only sequence. And one short demonstration. Then I'm done." Michael laughs a quick, dry laugh. "What, another speech?" "Not a speech," I say. I lift my phone. "A clip." Karen waves it off. "We're not doing videos." "Truth likes daylight," I tell her, then thumb the screen. The keys fail video blooms to life. The frame is steady. Michael's hand, the brass key, my bedroom knob, and above it the wall clock, second hand trembling. Metal whispers against metal. The latch holds. No yelling, no edits, just attempt and failure. Little crowd leans in without meaning to. In the clip, Karen says, "We'll change the locks tomorrow." Michael says, "Master key." The key doesn't turn. Ray doesn't narrate. He lets the image breathe for 3 beats. Then, this is what Mr. Caldwell has been dealing with. Policy checks at a locked private door. A master key that wasn't. Possession and access belong to owners, not to people who declare themselves landlords inside a family. That proves nothing. Taxing. It proves exactly what it shows, I say, and it shows enough. Karen finds the crowd again. Context matters. Text is the notice, Ray says, pleasant still. Sequence is escrow, possession is 7 days. He turns to the neighbors, not to Michael. Walk through tomorrow at 9 with buyers present. You're welcome to witness the professional part. We'll be brief. And looks at Michael. He asked us to read. You told us to ignore it. Karen inhales like she's about to lift something heavy. We went too far, she says. And the words fight her on the way out. I shouldn't have said fraud. The lawn collects a hush. Even Mrs. Lively lowers her phone 2 inches. Michael's arms uncross, his hands come up empty, then find the house keys at his belt loop like they're the last habit left. He looks at me and loses a decade from his face. You told me to pay the rent or get out, I say, level. I chose the second, except it's you who will be leaving. He flinches like the line touched bone, then nods once as if accepting a verdict he handed out first. Dad. His voice breaks, small and human in front of the porch and the phones and the light. I'm sorry. Karen's eyes shine the way pride hates. I'm sorry, she adds softer, to the boards more than to me. We misjudged. Tomorrow at 9, Ray repeats for the lawn. Short walkthrough, 7 days to possession. Let's keep it courteous. 2 quiet people in good shoes nod from the gate offering a single, polite line. We'll be respectful. And nothing else. Good. They don't need to be part of this family's weather. I step inside long enough to lay a finger on the thermostat. I turn it to 72 with the calm of a man returning a tool to its proper shelf, then step back to the doorway so the witnesses can see nothing exploded and no angels sang, only air settling into a number I chose. Relief doesn't shout. It arrives, takes a chair, and frees the hands. Who Ruth exhales. Mrs. Lively's phone finds her lap. The diagonal mower man studies the grain of the porch, having found out that wood tells better stories than rumor. Blindness checks his watch once, then lifts his chin. Walk through tomorrow at 9, he says again. Clear for the record. I nod. Maboni's hand shakes as he pockets the house keys, eyes wet, mouth trying to find a new shape. He looks at me like a son, not a foreman, and manages the only line that matters. Dad, I'm sorry. Ving room neat enough to pass inspection and honest enough not to. The wall clock above the mantel clicks from 9:01 to 9:02 like a conductor lifting his hand. Ray stands where a man stands when he's about to put sequence on the record. Kang morning, he says. Walk through only 10 minutes. He looks at Michael and Karen, not unkind. As discussed, we're acknowledging yesterday's notice to occupants, served and posted. Possession transfers in 6 days. Karen has mustos smaller than she is. We heard you. Michael clears his throat. We did. Ruth and Mrs. Lively hover by the doorway, shoes planted on the threshold like they're respecting both rooms. Ruth offers a single, quiet line. We'll keep it neighborly. Ray gestures to the clock as if the second hand were a witness. Time noted. 9:02. He turns to the buyers, 2 careful smiles, clipboards held low. Condition appears as shown. We're not inventing a story today. We're confirming a schedule. The buyers walk the edges, kitchen, hall, a polite glance down the bedrooms. They don't touch anything. Good, they don't need to. The house knows what it is. Michael keeps his hands in his pockets until the habit finds the metal there. Keys. He pulls them out and stares at the shape they make, a little brass accident of years. Karen tries for one last frame. We've always wanted what's fair. I meet her eyes. Fair starts with true names. Michael shifts. We said things we shouldn't have? Ray opens a manila envelope, holds it steady, says nothing. He doesn't need to. Paper teaches manners if you let it. Karen places 2 keys in without drama. Front, deadbolt. Michael adds 3. Garage, side gate, that odd little one he once called a master. The envelope makes a faint, weighty sound, like a drawer closing.
Take for avoidance of confusion, Ray says, you keep your personal copies for the next 6 days. Access remains lawful and coordinated. After transfer, any entry will be by appointment. He looks at the clock again, then at the posted notice by the door. We all agree? Michael swallows. We agree. Karen nods. We'll vacate by the date. Good, Ray says. I'll note it. Silence settles the way dust does, visible only if you stare. I don't. I breathe. Relief comes shaped like work finished, not like triumph. Michael finds a last scrap of face. We need 2 evenings to box the garage. Schedule them with Ray, I say. Karen looks past me at the hallway and, for the first time in weeks, doesn't pretend it's hers to arrange. We're sorry, she says, to the air, to the clock, to me. I give her a single crisp nod. Accepted. She nods back, almost grateful the word exists. We stand in a little ring of understanding. The buyers murmur one polite line. Everything looks in order. And step back, happy to be furniture in someone else's story. Ray clears his throat just enough to remind the moment it has rails. Checklist. Notice acknowledged on record. Keys staged. Calendar confirmed. Walkthrough complete. He slips the envelope into his case. We're finished. Michael tries one last label. You're not a tenant, I say. No. That's the word dropped between his shoes. Right. Karen exhales. We'll make it smooth. Foreclosure, I say. We'll let the clock do the rest. Ruth gives a small, satisfied, Mrs. Lively, for once, doesn't raise her phone. She simply says, all right then, which might be the kindest sentence we've had from her. Ray reaches for the door. I stop him with a hand on the jamb, not to block, just to time it. The house hums at the setting I picked yesterday. No one mentions numbers, everyone can feel them. Michael looks at the thermostat as if it could testify. He says nothing. That's new. Any last questions, Ray asks. No, Karen answers, and her voice is clean of the edge she used to sharpen before she spoke. Thank you. Ray nods like a man stamping a form only he can see. Next contact is the final handoff, 6 days. 6, Michael repeats, not arguing with the math for once. We walk them to the threshold, buyers first, then Ruth and Mrs. Lively, then Michael and Karen. At the doorway, Karen hesitates. Dad? Yes. Surrendered. 72, okay? It isn't a test, it's a small, overdue courtesy. It is, I say. They step onto the porch. The morning has that freshly washed brightness that makes fences look straight. Somewhere down the block, a moving truck coughs to life and grinds into gear. Sound only like a narrator we hired for the day. Ray slips the envelope deeper into his case. I'll ping you this afternoon with the summary, he says quietly. Rest easy, the rest is form. Form I can live with, I say. We shake hands, the kind that doesn't need to be strong to be binding. Ruth tips her visor. Mrs. Lively tucks her phone away like a witness who's learned when to stop talking. Ray steps out. I stay where I am. The front door closes on 72, the latch catching with the precise click of a thing done right. Work finished, air even, hands free. 1 week later, the house sounded like itself again. Patience, paper, witnesses, sequence did the lifting. That's how you keep your name without raising your voice. I didn't gloat. I simply breathed and remembered I had sold the house on my terms. I touched the dial. The thermostat clicked to 72 and held. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and comment your thoughts below. Type 1 if you resonate with this story.